think we're on. Let's open it up.
Okay.
The big one we should check right away.
Wow. Yeah, look at that.
Okay.
We'll
put it right there.
Right here?
Then one way to check is to stick a big skewer in.
This one has to cook another 10
And then it
minutes,
should come out fairly clean as it has, you see. Okay, now the pin's out. There we are, Jack.
Beautiful,
Beautiful.
At this. Look at that souffle. Let's admire it for a while.
Done.
You know,
it'll stay up a little bit.
Yours go higher than mine.
Well, that's because we filled it very full and put a collar on. I always start like that and
In the
pull it
center,
apart.
right? All right.
Oh, that looks lovely.
Can't wait to taste it. See, this is perfect. The cooking here, just slightly moist in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And look at the center of that souffle there.
Mm.
And the crust, you know, is coming from the side, which is what's good. Well, it's...
I think we should see if it's any good.
I love, you know, my favorite souffle is actually cheese souffle. I love cheese. And especially
It's so
here.
nice for lunch with a good salad. That's delicious. I think the scallops must be ready now. Let's take it out of the oven.
Yes, look at that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Let's get it this way.
I'll get this out of your way.
This is an easy souffle to serve, you know, when it's in a gratin dish like this. It's easy to serve because you can actually, you know, cut your portion there.
And that funny cheese looks very nice. It looks like orange leaves, doesn't it?
Yes. And then, of course, a beautiful scallop and some juice in the bottom. You know, the scallop are there and give me some juice.
I think that's lovely.
Madame?
Monsieur?
Shall we taste it? You want to taste those... you want to see the scallop the way they are cooked?
That's right.
You're right, the scallop are not overcooked at all.
No, they're fine.
Beautiful.
Now we're going to have your famous and delicious chocolate. I think, remember in the old days, there was Dione Lucas, a famous English woman who was a great French cook. And I think her signature dish was the chocolate, what you call it, roulade or roll?
Yes, roulade au chocolat.
Yes, it was lovely, but Jack's is even better, I think.
Well...
It's moister and lighter and better.
Good. Now I'm
not that she wasn't a wonderful cook, too.
I want to show you now how to line up the jelly roll pan. So you fold that in 4 and you cut the corner here. The open corner there.
Well,
now
why do we do that?
Well, we take a bit of butter and we butter half of it. About half of it this way. Then we fold the one which is not buttered on top, so that it's buttered on each side. Then we open it.
Well, that saves you from buttering it each side.
Right. Now we open it. We put it buttered side down.
And this is parchment paper.
For a second, parchment. And then you lift it up. Now it's buttered on the other side. And we put it
really
here.
Really labor-saving.
Yes. And what happens is, you see the corner, the way those things fold
that really
in the corner there, because you cut the paper this way. So
that's very clever.
It makes a nice little casing, you know. And it's important to unmold it later on. You can see that corner.
Yes, you better be able to unmold it.
Yes. So we are ready now. So I am going to do the ganache.
Okay.
And ganache is really chocolate and cream, and in equal proportion. I have a cup of cream here, and with that cup of cream, we have 8 ounces of chocolate. This is a bittersweet chocolate. There is sugar in it, but it's very, very good quality. And I have 6 egg white that I'm going to start here, and I put a tablespoon and a half of sugar directly at the beginning.
At the beginning? Now that's unusual.
Yeah, that will stabilize the egg white, and they hold better. So this is going to get very smooth. It does beautiful chocolate truffle with this. See, that's it. It's basically all ready.
It's about done.
And it's,
You don't want to let it boil.
no, you don't want to let it boil. The cream was hot. When the cream is hot, it makes very fast.
But you have to be very careful that you're a pro and you know how to do it. But us home people,
We stop it.
we
No, but
don't
you-
know all the difficulties. If
Because
you
you
really,
know sometimes more than I do.
but if you let it boil, it can all thicken up. So if you want to be absolutely safe, you can put it over water, then you'll be
Right.
absolutely safe. So that's beautiful. That's just as smooth
it,
as anyone could want.
Okay, my egg white looks beautiful.
And you do use the machine now and then.
Oh yes, I do, of course. I'm gonna put this directly in there.
And the egg whites, it doesn't hurt them at all to have hot chocolate go in.
Well, I mix them a little bit with the whisk and finish it with the rubber spatula.
I must say, it smells.
And that smell good?
Now, if this were cream, that would deflate the cream.
Oh,
It doesn't
yes.
hurt the
Anything
chocolate at
hot,
all. So that's a ganache with egg white, so that is really a souffle, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could put that in the oven and do a beautiful chocolate souffle. You know, I like the chocolate souffle, individual souffle, so that would be good. You could probably do about 10 individual souffle with that, you know?
Now, what an easy way to make a souffle.
Yes, it is.
And wait till you taste it. It has a moistness to it, which is just lovely.
I think you like that recipe, Julia.
I do.
Huh? We flatten it out a little bit here. And you know, this at 350 degrees will cook about 12 minutes, you know, in those area. It cooks pretty fast. You could do a souffle, or you could do a cake like a souffle and let it cool off, and then mold it like a flourless chocolate cake, or then you can do your roulade.
There's nothing worse than as a title than a flourless chocolate cookie. Who cares whether it has flour in it or not?
What's important, it's good.
So that's what that's
Okay,
for.
12 minutes, 350 degrees.
Fine. Now what?
Now you're gonna beat the cream for
Oh,
me,
I'm going to
right?
beat the cream.
Okay.
Good. I always beat the cream over ice. I've got ice in here. Because it's got to be cold.
We need 1 cup of cream.
Then I don't ever use the machine for cream.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't, so you want to beat as much air in as possible.
I
It
put,
really takes about, it takes a good 5 minutes.
I put the sugar now.
Okay.
Tablespoon and a half of sugar. And a little bit of cognac.
That was like a tiny bit of vanilla in it too. Is that
Okay, a
okay?
tablespoon of cognac and then maybe
About a teaspoon of vanilla?
teaspoon of
Half a teaspoon.
Good. Looks good already.
I'll let you beat a little bit too. It's good for the arm.
It is true. Can I take it out?
As long as it's really chilled.
Yeah. I think the beauty of it, the important part is that the cream is beaten with a back and forth motion much more than getting into it like the egg white.
But you want to get as much air in as possible, don't you?
And usually it may break down and turn into butter, you know, if you beat in it too much. But just the emulsion back and forth, you can see it being taken now.
And this is going to be beaten into chantilly.
Yeah, that's it.
In other words, it isn't stiffly beaten white cream, it's softly beaten white
Like
cream.
this?
You think that's just about enough?
Yeah.
But I think having it cold is very
It
important.
helps a lot, yes.
And that you can beat ahead of time. You can just keep it in a bowl of ice. And I think
Yes.
you have a ready
Yes.
one. So we won't have to
Got
wait.
one.
He has a ready one.
Which is ready there. Take it out there.
And this has to be cool.
What I like to do is to put a little bit of cocoa powder here, unsweetened cocoa powder.
Now, if you did this ahead, could you do it overnight?
If I do it overnight, or if it's summer, if it's very humid too, I may want to put a little bit of gelatin in the cream. You know?
Uh-huh. I mean, melt it in.
Yes, to hold it. Let's see here. Just a little layer of this. Cream. Okay. So let's see
This
now.
is typical of chefs. They never clean out
No,
the
I
bowl.
always clean. I'm going to serve that next to the.
Oh, you
next
are?
to the. No, I always clean everything. I'm a real.
I always feel that they have a lot of
All right,
minions
I'll put a little
outside.
more on top of it. In addition, I haven't been in the kitchen, in the professional kitchen a long time, you know. I work at home, and if I don't clean anything, my wife yelled at me, so I'm very careful. Okay, so we use the paper, you know, to roll it basically this way. And you know, at that point, I could put that other piece of paper underneath and keep it like that in my refrigerator ready. So here we have to transfer this to that.
And it doesn't make any difference if it cracks, it's going to cover it with
We're going to put a
powdered
little
sugar or
bit
something anyway.
of cocoa powder on top here.
Yeah.
So now, really what we put on top of it here is, again, a little bit of unsweetened cocoa powder. I can leave some of that on my tray, you know, makes a bit of a decoration. This is very easy to cut.
You don't put powdered sugar on that, on the top.
Oh, we could if you want.
Or you could frost it if you wanted to.
This is for the chef, you know, in the kitchen, you cut the end of it. Especially if you do your bûche de Noël, so it has a nice shape. Okay, I'm going to give you a nice slice out of it.
Well, I'm ready.
You know, it's still a little warm from the oven. And we could put, oh, maybe a little decoration, a little bit of flowers.
Yes, that's...
Maybe a little sprig of mint.
Well, now, I'll see if it's any good.
Me too. You need a nice sweet wine with that. It's quite light, huh?
It's lovely. So I've had a lot of them that are kind of dry, and this has a lovely moist quality to it.
I did it with your help. You whipped the cream.
This is really just so good, I can't stop eating it. I'll just say, bon appetit.
And happy cooking.
A presentation of KQED San Francisco.
Jacques and I are both vegetarians.
But we eat meat too.
Well, we eat everything.
Yes, including vegetable and a lot of vegetable. But you have to treat your vegetable well, respect them, you have to season them properly.
And know how to cook them.
Right.
We have a great group of them for you today.
Happy cooking.
Bon appetit. We're going to start out with a stuffed whole head of cabbage. This is a recipe that you find in practically every culture, I think, particularly in Middle Europe.
Yes. And here we have a Savoy cabbage, and your regular cabbage, you can actually use either one, right?
No, but the Savoy is prettier. I'll get
Savoy
this
is
one out of our way.
And one way that Julia does it, I had never done it before.
Well, I read about it. It's
You
not
read
my
about it?
invention.
Oh, okay.
And it works.
What you do, you take the core of that cabbage, that I'm doing now, and conventionally what you have to do is to remove all of those leaves and to blanch them. And you blanch them, of course, in salted boiling water. But what we did here, what did we do?
What we did here, we put it in the freezer. This is frozen solid, isn't it?
Yes. Hot frozen solid, and as you can see at that point, the leaves are still very frozen, kind of separate like this, so they are kind of blanched.
So that saves you one whole step, because it was an awful nuisance boiling them and pushing the leaves off as you did it.
Those separate, but it gets very hard as you get toward the center. So I have another one here which has been defrosting.
While you take off the leaves, I'll start making the stuffing. The stuffing is going to have chopped vegetables and a bit of meat and some rice. And these all have to be sauteed first. So I'm using some vegetable oil, heating that up. Then we're going to have onion.
See those here now. You can undo all those leaves after it's been defrosted.
That really is wonderful how well it works,
terrific.
isn't it?
What I'm going to do also is to take the center of that cabbage, and I'll give you up to about here, because that part here you can't really, the leaves are too small, and that we're going to use in the stuffing. So I'm keeping all of that stuff here. That's good. And I'll give you that.
That's the center.
Yeah, that's the center for your stuffing.
Celery there.
And then we're going to stuff all of those leaves.
Well, we're going to form it so that it looks as though we're a whole cabbage. So you'll think, oh, there's that cabbage. That doesn't look very nice. Until you start cutting it up and you find all of this stuffing in it. And this is one of these recipes where you can really do what you want. You don't have to do what we do. You can have mushrooms or who knows what.
And then when the cabbage is stuffed, we're going to kind of braise it. So on this side, I'm going to start a braising liquid. And for that, I will have also a little bit of celery.
And that's about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic.
Okay.
And once cooked, it loses its violence. I put in a bit of...
You don't like violent garlic?
A little caraway seeds there. That's about half a teaspoon, I would say.
It is good, yes. Okay.
Is that for me or for you?
No, that's for me.
Well,
I'm
that's
going
for
to
you
do the
when you braise
braising
the
liquid.
cabbage. But this all has to be nice and soft so it will give out its flavors.
Well, I have some stock here if you want. So I'm putting the carrot, celery. I will also put a little bit of oil in mine.
I haven't put any salt and pepper in mine.
Salt and pepper,
I'll put in some white pepper.
The onion. Now there is 2 parts to that recipe which look the same but are different. The first part that Julia is doing there is ready to go inside the leaf, mixed with the meat and the rice. And that second part is for the whole cabbage to be braised or cooked back on top of this. So this is a flavoring base, if you want.
We're not doing a vegetarian stuffed cabbage, but we could perfectly well. You don't need meat in it at all.
No.
What'd you put in instead? Mushrooms, I think.
We could stuff it with mushroom, rice, with bulgur, with any type of leftover pasta would be very good. And inside we're going to put some tomato. Those tomatoes have been dipped in boiling water so that the skin come out very easily. If you want to blanch them, if you don't want to blanch them, it's fine. Cut them in half and press out the seed. I need about 3 cups of this.
You always do this, practically always when you're adding tomato, is to get that extra juice out of which you can keep for something else, but you don't want your stuffing all watery with tomato juices.
Or even if you don't have it, a can of stewed tomato would be perfectly fine.
Yes, that would be perfectly all right.
And for me, I have about 3 cups of tomato here.
This is your sauce still.
This is the base, yes. The sauce, a bit of salt, pepper in it. I'm going to cover this, and just like yours, mine is going to have to cook for a few minutes.
Now this is just about ready. It's thoroughly cooked and the liquid is mostly evaporated. All right, into the bowl.
If you had more time, of course, you could let that cool off a little bit. But in our case here, we're going to put the rice in it.
We got about 1.5, 2 cups there.
We had 1 cup of raw rice, which give you about 2 cups of cooked rice.
think that's going to have to be done with your impeccably clean fingers. Do you think we should saute a little bit and taste it to make sure?
Taste it? Well, we could do that too.
You want to be sure that it's wonderfully seasoned. When you get it mixed up, give me
I give you a little bit of this. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
What we are going to do now is to reform a whole cabbage. And to this, I think one of the easiest ways is actually to do it on a piece of aluminum foil. We'll start by kind of reforming the top of our cabbage.
Now, here you are, Jack.
Want to taste it? I think that's good. I think it can take a dash more salt, so what we can do, we can season as we go along here.
Doesn't need much, I don't think.
No? Okay.
You'd never know there was that much garlic in it.
So what we do, we put a first layer of meat, rice stuffing here. You want to give me a hand? And we try to put...
It looks so limp and funny at this point,
the outside of the rib going back in that shape, right? I need to put at least another layer here.
You got a lot of stuffing there.
I have a lot of stuffing. We're going to do a big cabbage. Here we are.
You can do this alone, but it's better with two people, isn't it?
Yes. Always better to cook with your family and friends. Here I have a third layer here. That's it. Here, we're using everything. Okay. I mean, actually, we could reform it like this in the shape of the cabbage, and this is good with this. And I think another good idea, too, is actually not to have that much aluminum foil so the juice of the cabbage can mix in there, you know, run, instead of being totally covered, I think.
That's a good idea, isn't it?
And of course, we're going to cook that upside down this way, reforming it like a large cabbage. So I have my vegetable stew that's cooking here. I'm gonna put that right on top in the middle here. I'm gonna put about a cup of white wine here and half a cup or 3/4 of a cup of stock here.
Then all these juices are going to mingle together.
Yes. We'll have to bring it to a boil on top of the stove, then we put it into the oven. Here we are. Here.
What's the oven at?
375.
It should
And
just
now we just have to
slowly
wait.
simmer.
Wait and have a glass of wine, right?
Yes.
Good. Well, I think it's cooked. We'll bring that
There.
behind you.
Well, that was about 2 hours for that
Yes,
big
for
one.
the big
Yeah.
one. Watch out, this is hot.
Now, how are you going to get it out of the pan?
Well, I'm going to get it with one of your beautiful spatula there.
That's coming out. That's
I
beautiful.
think that should be fine.
That's fine. Smell.
I think we'll serve it without the...
Without...
So don't forget to remove it. And it's a good thing, you see, that I did not go completely underneath. So that will come out easy because look at that.
No, you have some...
Yes, we have some
Sauce
extra
like
sauce.
that.
Extra sauce like that, a little bunch of parsley on top. And isn't that beautiful?
Well, let's see how she serves.
Yes, let's see how she serves. That's another thing. Okay, I'm gonna cut a wedge right here. Look at that, beautiful.
And then a little sauce on top.
You want to be generous with your portion there because this is good stuff, right? Here we are.
We're going to now taste it.
This is really a great man course.
You have asbestos mouth.
Yeah. I clench my teeth a lot.
Mm.
It's good.
It was a very nice dish.
Especially that taste of caraway seed is delicious.
And we're going to do a classic dish, cauliflower au gratin. It's the cauliflower is cooked, and then it's arranged in a baking dish and covered with a delicious cream cheese sauce or cheese cream sauce.
So what you do here, all you take is the core, and you can even keep that for soup. And at that one, I put that upside down with a little bit of water in there so it kind of steam and boil at the same time, which is what I
Easy
have
cooking.
here. Yeah, and it's Yeah, that's it. It's cooked, Julia.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we can start on the sauce.
This
Good.
is the classic bechamel. I'm going to make about 3 cups of sauce. I need about 3 tablespoons of butter. And then it's going to have flour in it. I think it's essential that the flour and butter cook together about 2 minutes to cook the flour. You want to put in 3 tablespoons of plain all-purpose flour.
1, 2, 3. Yes, you can go a good tablespoon per cup of liquid, and you'll have a nice creamy
Not
sauce.
too thick.
You want to cook that for a little while?
I'll cook that for a little while.
Well, during that time, I may start on those vegetables here. Just to show you, we have turnips and carrot. And in that case here, we turn the turnips and carrot. And what you have to do is to cut each of your turnips into equal pieces and each of your carrot into equal pieces too. And then after, we turn them, although you could use them this way. That is, with the point of a knife, you turn them into a little bit of a football shape. Here we are. You know, you do a couple like that, and we keep everything. You keep the trimming, you know, for soup or other things, so you don't throw out anything. And we do the same thing with the turnips. In that case here, I did not peel the turnips, so you wouldn't want to kill the shape, but you want them to have a nice, all equal shape.
While he's doing that, I want you to look at this. This is the flour and butter for the roux. You want it to froth and foam for about 2 minutes, and that cooks the flour so you don't have a pasty sauce. And if it won't spread out nicely, add a little bit more butter. But I think this is ready now.
Okay. So what we'll do now, I'm going to take, this is cooked and I have a little bit of liquid around. We're going to use that liquid in the white sauce over there. So I put the lid this way.
I think before you do that, I have hot milk here. I'm going to put in
put a bit of milk
a
in
bit
there?
of milk first,
Okay.
stirring it around.
Getting nice and thick.
All right.
So I'll add this to you.
That's enough.
Okay.
Good.
And that gives you the taste of the cauliflowers.
And we want to stir this around vigorously.
And during that time, I will remove that cooked cauliflower to the gratin dish here. I could give you a little more of that juice here.
Good, I could use a little more.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Here it is. You have salt and white pepper
And now,
here.
because you've carefully cooked your flour and butter together, you don't need to simmer it a great deal. After it's brought up to the boil, there's a little white pepper, some salt. Let's have a little tiny bit of nutmeg, Jacques.
Okay.
An itty bit.
You have a whole nutmeg like this. You can use a little cheese grater, or you can use the side of a knife to scrape it like this.
You don't want too much nutmeg because you don't want to taste it and say, oh, nutmeg.
Right.
It has to be subtle.
So now what we do, I separate the flourette this way. This is really hot. And I turn them back the other way so that we have a nice gratin. This is good too, actually. I'm going to cut that piece here. And I'll add it to it in the corner here. And what I want to put, however, on top of it, I put a little bit of Swiss cheese grated before you put the sauce. Maybe a dash of salt and pepper.
I think we can put some cream in here.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think you have it.
Yes, I have a little bit of cream for you.
Well, that's pretty
Yeah,
thick.
because that's a bit too thick, right? You want this? So my gratin is ready. Do you want that to come to a boil first?
It's come to a boil. It's already boiled.
So we are ready.
We are ready. Do we have a big spoon?
Yeah.
That's a good idea, putting the cheese on there. Then they'll go cheese on top of the sauce.
You know what? We need all that sauce. People often, they don't put enough, you know.
Yes. This would be going with a kind of a lean meal, like just a roast or broiled chicken or lamb.
The gratin is always welcome at my house. Julia, you put some cheese on top?
Oh, I think so. I think I like the Swiss cheese on this.
Now you want to cook your gratin on a jelly roll pan or a cookie sheet on top, because if it's spilled over and the heat transfer is better and it's easier to get in and out of the oven,
Now you
Need a
can,
little bit
get,
on
you
that
can
corner.
get this ready several hours ahead. In this case, because it's all hot, you could probably put it quite a distance under a hot broiler and it would heat the whole
Oh,
thing.
yes,
But if we're cold, you'd have to put it in the oven at about a
in the hot oven.
375
Yeah.
oven. It'd take you about 20 minutes for the to cook through and the top
yeah.
to brown.
I'm going to put it in the oven.
So it's a good dish to have, mainly because you can get it done ahead of time. It's really delicious, I think.
Yes. And
Very
maybe during
old-fashioned.
that time, maybe we'll start this. You think the carrots are going to cook a bit longer, right?
Yes, I'd
So
put
maybe
them-
we should
do
start
them
the
first,
carrot
I think.
first. So what I have to do in there is to put some water. What happened there is that you want to glaze the carrot and the turnips. So to achieve that first, they have to cook. So you put about just enough water. It doesn't even come to the top. In this, you put a little bit of salt that you're going to need. Then we put a little bit of sugar.
And that makes for the caramelized
for the
glaze.
Yes, and a piece of butter. You want to cook your carrot 3 or 4 minutes ahead and then add the turnips. What happens is that as soon as they are tender enough, you remove the lid, then it boils down, and by the time you are left with the sugar and the butter, it's going to caramelize and start glazing the vegetables. Well, this is boiling very nicely. Now for about 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to add the turnips, put it back, and cover it and cook it until it's just a bit firm but starting to get tender.
You may have seen this ugly-looking thing in your grocery and wondered what in the world it was. It's a celery root or a celeriac. It makes an absolutely lovely salad. You can cook it and mix it with mashed potatoes. But you have to peel it.
Yes. But first, you know, while I'm going to peel that, I'm looking at my carrot here. You see they are tender. This is tender too, and basically there is no more juice left or very little. So now I cook it without the lid, meaning that it's going to reduce more and eventually start glazing. So I'll keep an eye on it while doing this. First, the part of the root here, you have to cut a fair amount of it, you know.
It smells wonderfully of celery. If you do it ahead of time like this, you have to rub it with lemon because it discolors rapidly.
It's a hard skin. I have a very sharp knife, and you have to
So I'm going to rub
watch
this
your
with
finger.
lemon. Now we have to cut it in very thin matchstick sizes.
One of the easiest ways is probably doing it in the food processor, right? And that type of blade that I use here is a type of shredder. And it works actually quite well. And it's
That's
of course
the easiest thing. You
easiest
go
thing
right in
because
here.
We'll give you
And
this.
if you do it ahead, be sure and put a little lemon juice and salt on it.
It is good that they marinate a little bit ahead so that the celery softens, you know.
And then you have the final sauce, and I'm going to make a mixture with a bit of mustard.
I think that
And
my carrot and turnips are about right.
That's lovely.
Aren't they beautiful?
Lovely. Those you can do ahead and reheat. That
I'm
looks
going to-
beautiful.
I'm going to stop it right there.
I'm going to put in some sour cream.
Okay. You want a little whisk?
Mm-hmm. And there's a little mayonnaise, because you like mayonnaise too, so we have a
Yeah, I
bit of
think-
everything.
It's a good idea.
Now put her in.
I think we're going to need some pepper in there, though. White or black?
Oh,
That's
you like black, let's have
Yeah.
black.
Okay.
Pepper is pepper.
Pepper is pepper. So we toss it, and again, as you mentioned before, it's a good idea to do that a little ahead so they have
Because
time
then
to.
it softens and sort of all the flavors blend together.
Okay. Well, you want to
Well, let's
taste
have
it
a
now?
little taste. I'm going to grab it with my impeccably clean finger.
I think a little bit of salt, right?
That's definitely.
You want to
There
give
we
me
are.
some there?
Now,
No,
this we will say this is sat for 2 hours,
Okay.
perfectly seasoned, absolutely delicious, ready to serve.
I have beautiful Boston lettuce here that we can put around. Do you want to ladle it in the middle?
All right?
And maybe I'll do a little decoration with a
Well,
tomato
that
on
would be
top.
nice.
I'll do a bit of a rose with the tomato skin. So what you want to do is to take the end like this to have a base. And then after start slicing around. And you want to cut in a jigsaw fashion with your knife so that you have a bit of a texture here. You know, and you do 2 strips.
So what's wonderful about you, Jacques, that you've worked all over the world and you've picked up all kinds of wonderful tricks.
Yes.
Which you are sharing with us, which is very nice.
And I enjoy sharing it with you and all my friends. So on that base here, where you have the first one, then you can do like a crown like this. You see that old?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the second one, you can roll it into a tighter scroll like this to put in the middle of it. Here we are.
And that's nice.
And you have a little
You should
touch.
have a little hole there for it.
Yes, little touch that you put right on top here. That's it. Okay.
That is lovely.
The glazed vegetables are ready, you know. Look at that.
That's beautiful.
You want to put a bit of chives on top of this?
Yes, why not? So we have our gratin.
And now, the pièce de résistance is our gratin of cauliflowers. Oh, it's bubbling nicely. It's beautiful. And I think it's done.
Well, that's lovely. And you don't want to overcook it. You know, you can get some terrible steamed table cauliflower that is just awful and has a bad smell. But this, you cook it just until it's done, and it's perfectly delicious.
It's worth eating only vegetable. If you want to be a vegetarian, those you have great dishes that we enjoy making for you today.
And they're beautiful, and they'd please anybody.
Yes.
And I know they'll please you, so make them right away, and you'll love them.
Happy cooking.
And bon appetit.
A presentation of KQED San Francisco.
Julia, I have a limerick for you.
God, I love limericks.
There once was a woman named Child who made sausages spicy and mild. Those tubular treats, stuffed with mystery meat, made her friend and relation go wild.
That's a wonderful one. Oddly enough, I have one for you, Jacques.
Oh, good.
There once was a young man from Lyon whose knife work was exceedingly bon. His charcuterie was something to see, and his sausages weren't bad either.
Well, today we're going to show you how to stuff sausages and how to make pâté.
In your own kitchen.
Happy cooking.
Bon appetit. This is going to be an all-purpose sausage mixture for stuffing into cases or making into pâtés.
We have this one, you know, that you can buy at the market. This is beautiful. This is done with beef middle. I mean, it's about 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
But it's quite pricey. When you do it this way, I tell you, it's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
It has to be well seasoned, so we put 2.5 teaspoons of salt.
And this is 1.5 pounds of ground pork.
Exactly, yes.
What did we say? It was
About 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground black pepper.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a pinch of sugar, like half a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm giving you a little pinch here of potassium nitrate. This is saltpeter. And if you don't want to put it, it's fine, but you won't have the nice, beautiful red, you know, that you have in a frankfurter and pastrami and corned beef and so forth, you know.
I think it's slightly a preservative.
Yes, it does, yes. So you're putting
everything?
white wine.
I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of
About,
pinoles.
Pine nuts, yes.
I'm going to put in a tiny bit more because that's nicer. We're going to do two truffles.
Oh, good.
We're going to make them julienne.
All right, so well.
And these are very,
Those are the black truffle.
very expensive. I thought I was supposed to julienne them. Well,
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's chopped. You didn't julienne them. I'm trying to follow your recipe.
This is your recipe now. My recipe is there. So in my recipe now, I'm putting a couple of tablespoons of red wine in mine. It's more of a country, a bit more assertive taste, you know. I have basically the same salt, pepper, and so forth. And I'm putting about 2-3 tablespoons of pecan, coarsely chopped. You could have pistachio, you could have walnut, you know, in there, it'd be fine. And you could have no nuts at all, it's fine also. And inside, I'm putting a little clove of garlic, which you want to crush.
If you're
and
making
chop.
a big batch, you can certainly do this in your big, heavy-duty mixer.
So a very fine puree of garlic. That's it.
And now we're going to taste it and see how it is, because you want to make sure that you have enough seasoning in it.
Yes. And you're going to taste
We're going to
the mixture.
Just going to taste
Well,
it.
during that time, I wanted to show you the casing. This is a casing who usually come in salt. This has to be put in water, as I did here, and you should run it under the faucet, you know, and this is what I'm going to do here. What happened here, as you can see, your sausage, you want to fill it up to wash the inside as well as the outside and soak it in water. And you can see the side of this one, you know, which is about 1.5 inches, kind of transparent. So you wash the inside this way, can soak it out in water again, and then it's basically ready to use at that point. How is the meat doing? Good?
Just getting it to turn over. Smells good.
And we're going to use those strange-looking sausage stuffer, you know? This is an oldie. I
That's
haven't
very
seen this
old.
one. Yes, my gosh, look at this one. It's a very simple thing. It's a funnel, you know, which goes into this, and you, of course, fix it up to the end.
And you don't have to have one of these at all, but
And then push the
more
meat
fun.
in it, right?
Now we're going to taste this, Jacques.
Okay. It's good. It's slightly over-seasoned, which is the way it was by the time it's going to be mixed, either with the potato salad and cured and so forth.
We're going to use the modern stuffer here.
Yes.
With my
Put it into that
impeccably
plastic.
clean hands.
That's
You
good.
really have to get yourself into sausage making. If you try to use spoons and things, it's very difficult, I think.
So what happened after you want to put it this way?
Two more truffles in
Two
there.
more truffle, okay. And start cranking it this way. And at that point, you have to insert, of course, the opening of your sausage
It's
there.
very important that it be wet, or you're going to have trouble slipping
absolutely.
it on.
You can put quite a lot out of it.
So
That's
this
the
machine
idea.
is expensive. That other one that was just a handheld, or you could use a pastry bag.
Here we are, sausage coming out
That's really
of it.
wonderful.
Yes, isn't it? That's it, that basically, and then after you can do your link of sausage by folding it in this way, and again. But I think that for the people who want to do it maybe in an easier way, we're going to show them a way by hand, right?
Good.
So what I have, I'm going to do this one this way. I put aluminum foil as well as parchment paper. And here we're going to
Now this is
form a
would be
sausage.
useful to see.
form a sausage. I mean, it's very easy. You just form the
Of
sausage
course,
by
you can
hand.
just make these into little pâtés and sauté them individually.
What you would want to do at that point, this has to be cured for at least 3 days, under refrigeration. And it will develop the taste and the color that you want. So you press it into a sausage, and at that point would be like the store-bought sausage that we show you, which is about 2.5 inches thickness, So you can form it this way, into a nice sausage. So you do it first in this, and that can cure right in there for a couple of days.
In the fridge?
Yes. So let's pretend that now it's been curing for several days, and we put it to cook in a water which is about the right temperature, right?
And that's about 180 or at the simmer.
And at that point, you would put that directly this way to poach it in there. It has to have enough water to be immersed, and I use a lid to put on top of it to apply it so that it stays under the water. And it has to poach at that temperature for about 35, 40 minutes, depending on the size of your sausage.
Good. Now we're going to make a sausage in brioche crust. The brioche is an egg dough. It makes a very nice bread, and it makes a very nice crust. And this is the yeast things. I have dry active yeast. I have one package in here that's slightly less than a tablespoon. So you want 3 tablespoons of water.
3 tablespoons of water in there, okay. The water cold or lukewarm?
Lukewarm.
The tap, yes.
And then we want a nice pinch of sugar, which will help it work, and a little pinch of flour. Just take some from there.
Good, okay.
And then we're going to let it
You want to mix it?
And this is how it looks. This is, when it's foamed up just like that, you know that it is ready to go.
Yes.
I think it's awful you get it all made and the dough hasn't risen, and it's because the yeast was killed by hot water or something.
This has a wonderful aroma of yeast. You can really see it working here. Okay.
And now we want 3.5 cups of flour. And the way I measure flour, my recipes are always, you dip the cup into the flour until it's overflowing, level it off, and you don't press it down, because if you tap it down, you could add a whole other tablespoon of flour and your measurements would be off. So there are 3.5 cups of flour in here, and 1.5 teaspoons regular table salt.
Okay, so here you are.
And then we have 1.5 sticks of chilled butter. That and the flour are going to blend together. We want butter broken up into rough granules. Let's turn it off now and take a look.
That's perfect.
Let's check it. See, they're just very small pieces of butter in there.
That's good.
And now we want 4 eggs and 1/3 cup of milk. And then that's going to dribble into here.
What about the yeast? You want to put it in there?
Yes, that can go in there
In
too.
there also? Okay. So hold the yeast, of course. You want to beat that up a bit? Good. You put it on?
Full blast.
Full blast, okay. Here we are.
Take a look at it. That seems pretty good, I think.
Yes, I think it looks terrific. You just have that type of elasticity that you need to.
Yeah.
And so now we're ready to take it out. Okay.
We'll put it in this bowl.
All right.
I have some that's already risen. I like to give 2 rises because I think it gives more body to the dough and more flavor. But then in any case, it needs deflating. And this is not what they call punch down. It's really flattened.
Oh, you crush the air out of it by flattening it.
Yeah, and then you turn it. And that redistributes the yeast for the second rise. At about 75 degrees, it'll probably take 1.5 hours to 2 hours.
A couple of hours, right?
And then we have one fully risen for you, Jack.
Here is the dough. It's flattened now.
Looks nice.
And here is the sausage. Can you undo that for me?
So this sausage is raw, and it's going to cook in its brioche crust.
Yeah. So we're going to press the brioche. It should be
There you
about
are.
rectangular, you know.
That looks nice. Smells good.
So you want to put, that smells good. You want to put that sausage on top of...
I'll let you put it on because you know.
go ahead, right in the middle. Beautiful with the truffle
That
and all
lovely.
that.
That looks
Now you know
delicious.
what I do here, which
And
is...
this is how thick would you say? It's
Oh,
about
I would say it's a
quarter of an
good...
inch.
It's a good half inch. I
About
think it's pretty...
3/8 inch maybe.
Okay, 3/8 inch. All right. So here you put a little bit of flour on top of it, and this actually is to make the brioche stick to the sausage. So we press it this way here. I need an egg to wash it.
That will
make it
stick
stick.
it together, yeah.
Here we are. And then the other side should kind of overlap. And then the end of it, you can, if you want, press it a little bit this way to extend it. Can we brush
This makes an awfully nice dish for cocktails or
Yes.
a lovely summer lunch with a nice salad.
This one here. Here we are. So it is thicker on the bottom now, so you want to turn it upside down because it's going to sink a little bit as it proof, you know. I think we'll put it
Okay,
there.
this is going to proof again.
Yeah, this has to proof.
Oh, of course it
Now
does,
here.
because it's the yeast dough.
So we have a nice brioche
That looks
this
very
way.
nice.
So we can brush it now again with the egg wash.
It makes a lot of difference to give a nice shiny crust.
We can mark the top, you know, if you want, with the back of a knife. Give a little bit of a design this way. And maybe we do a couple of chimney, right?
Yes, it has to, otherwise it'd be steaming when it baked.
Right. And what I like to put is a piece of aluminum foil around, you know, to
good
hold
idea.
it while it's cooking this way.
Keep its shape.
Yes, at least at the beginning. And I think I put a piece of string, holding it a little bit. And this has to proof again now.
That'll be about an hour and a half.
About an hour, yes. But for the time being, I have one which is kind of
Oh, good.
proofed, you know.
But how do we
proofs a
know
little
that
bit.
it's proofed enough?
Well, you can smell it to start with. I'm going to put a little bit of this on top and put it back in the oven. What I like to put on top is a bit of breadcrumb also. Give a
I'll brown it nicely.
nice look, yes.
And then I think you can tell by feeling also.
Yeah, that is pretty soft. Spongy and soft, you know.
Yes.
So shall we put it in the oven
Okay.
for 375 degrees, and that will take a good 45 minutes about. Okay, and what we'll do, after about 15-20 minutes of cooking, we can take that piece of aluminum foil around. By then it will hold its shape.
Now we're going to do a pâté. This is a very festive type of French meatloaf, but it has wine and other things in it, and a variety of meats. But if you think of it as a meatloaf, then you won't be afraid of it, will you?
Yes, and it's very expensive when you buy that into specialty store. It costs a little fortune. So we're going to show you how to make it very easily. This is ground pork, and the ground pork will have a little more fat than we will have in the sausage, because with that we're putting a very lean ground veal, you know. And of course, if you don't have veal, and Julia,
You could use ground turkey.
ground turkey would do something similar to this. So this
That's
is
about 3/4 of a pound each
Right.
of veal or turkey that's ground.
right. We have about 2.5 pounds of meat. So in there we have the salt and pepper, just to it. We have chopped shallots.
You got about 1/3 of a cup of them, haven't
We
you?
have a bit of chopped garlic. And we have some dry mushroom in it, and those are porcini in Italian, what we call cèpe in France, which are a dry wild mushroom, which is very strong. And I put it dry because the meat has to marinate several days, so they are going to reconstitute. We put some pistachio in there for color as well as taste.
The proportions aren't of great importance.
Cognac.
Let's be the same proportions that we use for the sausage meat.
Yes. A couple of tablespoons of cognac, and I need some of your white wine over there.
There's a little white wine.
Thank you. About, I would say, 1/3 of a cup of white wine at least. And then in this, now it's highly seasoned, I have some chicken liver, and in those chicken liver, a dash of salt and pepper, and a bit of cognac on top of it. And Julia is doing little strip of very lean veal and ham, yes. So now...
The reason for the strips is we're going to mold this into a loaf shape. And then when you cut it across, you'll see these nice pieces of veal and ham.
Sometimes you can put an egg in it, some people do, sometimes a little bit of starch. This has to marinate or macerate at least 48 hours to 3 days, you know. And I also put a little pinch of saltpeter again in there to get the right color, yes. Oh, and I have my seasoning here that I almost forgot, and that I put that into a little coffee grinder, and I have a couple of bay leaf in it, I have some clove, I have allspice, and fresh thyme. That, of course, will give you a lot of taste. This is the secret seasoning ingredient, and then you can express yourself in that way, because from cumin to anything you want, you can work out your allspice, you know. Now, you can cook that into a loaf like this. This is a pâté mold cast iron.
Or you could use a bread pan.
Yes, and you can line it up or not line it up with what we have here. This is called cold fat.
You could get this in an Italian butcher shop, or you can have your butcher order it.
Yes.
Or just not use it because it isn't necessary, but it's kind of fun to have.
And CAUL, that's the cold fat. And
it's the membrane that holds all the pig's inner organs.
So, this could be marinated in the mold itself or outside. So what we do, we're going to do layer here. You want to put some of your strip of veal as well as...
alternate with veal and ham.
So I put a small layer again on top, and in the middle of that, Julia, we're going to put the chicken liver here.
That'll be nice.
And on each side, we can put
on each side we
more
can
of this
put
stuff.
A bit of ham there.
That's it. So a pâté is really a question of having a good recipe, and it's an assembling procedure, but it's not particularly difficult to do. More of our meatloaf on top. I mean, a pâté like that, big party. I usually always do pâté around the Christmas time. And when I have a couple of pâté I do at home, when I ground it, I do 2 pâté. And I use it during the holiday because you can keep it for, of course, like a week and a half in your refrigerator. Slice it, and it does a lot of party around that time, you know. I put a little more of that on top. There's some ham, maybe, in the middle. And I finish with the rest of the meat here, which I'm going to spread on top.
It looks like so much meat, but it fits very nicely in, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. And then, finally, you want to bring back your beautiful lassi.
Which is beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And maybe the finished touch on top, I put a couple of bay leaf.
That's
like
always a nice touch, I think.
And maybe a bit of dry thyme, you know. This, of course, you wouldn't want to cook it now. I said you let it marinate a few days. You put that, of course, in the double boiler. Because that has to cook. One of the secrets of pâté...
I mean, this is a double boiler, bain-marie.
If the seasoning, it has to be well seasoned. The second one, the amount of fat, it has to have a certain amount of fat to really... And the secondly, to cook it slowly a long time. If you cook it too fast, the whole fat melts.
Yeah.
And you change the whole texture, you know.
Cover the tureen tightly with a double thickness of foil, and then off it goes to a preheated 325-degree oven. Bake it for about 1 hour and 3/4 until your meat thermometer reads 155 degrees. Now here's one that's all ready to eat. It's cool and unmolded, and it just smells wonderful.
And as you can see here, I have a beautiful red color of a pâté with the liver in the center of it. And this, of course, has to do with a little bit of the saltpeter. You can see the pistachio in there.
And you can very faintly see
the chicken
livers and the ham and things. But that makes a very pretty slice.
Yes. And this, of course, very often is served. You can have black olives. You can have the cornichon, which is those small French gherkin in vinegar. Yeah, you could put some around this way. That would be nice. And you want to put olive on the other side. With this, of course, you can have a good French mustard. A bread.
Bread, yes.
You need a a great crunchy type of country bread with that. With a pâté, you have a picnic, you have a dry white wine, you serve it at the table. You can have a Beaujolais, ordinary wine, you can have a more pungent Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, anything goes there.
Now here is the star of the sausage, Joe. That's the saucisson en brioche.
Right. The center of it, I mean, look at that brioche, you know? Oh boy, I can smell the truffle.
No, this is the same sausage meat we've been seeing. It's just all in different costumes.
Yes. But there, a beautiful brioche like this. Yeah, that would be a first course. I would have a piece like this, yes.
You would. Good.
Now I'm going to cut a little piece just for you and me to taste, yeah? Here, eh? I can smell the truffle. They are good.
But it is nice to have the bread with it, I think.
It's delicious.
Good. There, now we'll never have to buy any sausage again. Bon appetit.
Happy cooking.
And here's to you, Jacques. That was a great
To you.
show.
Thank you for doing it.